So whenever I've seen someone like putting out like an opinion from a journalistic point of view, do we feel like it's coming from a neutral place, or does it feel like it's coming from a place of bias? Like I feel this way, so I'm going to like direct it from one aspect.
Okay, so in this circumstance with journalists and bias coming in, it's quite subconscious, I would say. So, as journalists, you are taught to put out the neutral story. Like, you're going to put out, like, for example, um, let's say stray cats are being terminated or whatever it is, or they're being rehomed, right? So you're just going to put out the facts. You're going to put out like, this is what's happening. This is the government's. No, let me change the story because it's not going to be very resonating. Okay, let's say celebrity story, right? Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt's breakup. Even if you're on Angelina's side, you're not going to be like, oh, you feel so terrible for her and the way Brad Pitt behaved with her or treated her. You're just going to put out the facts of like, this is what happened. The two have separated. The children are in whose custody, and this is their previous history. And you're going to like put in all of those facts and figures. But as you are looking for evidence to support what you're saying, and if you're like adding any comments, if you're adding any tweets, if you're adding anything, you would subconsciously lean towards the side that you are on.
Yeah.
That would just happen very subconsciously. So that's the whole thing with journalism bias.
That's interesting. I didn't know that, because also it feels like it has to come from a place of neutral, as you said. But we are humans as well, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You are going to I mean, you have a side. You know in your heart you have a side. You're picking a side.
Yeah.
And
Because our job is basically to put the story out there, then it's yours to do what you want with it.
Yeah.
Of course, there are stories here and there that you have your opinion pieces and you can put in your perspective, but usually a journalist's job is not to do that and just to put out the story. However, subconsciously, you do have that bias, which is quite natural.
yeah, I think so. And you know, talking about like journalism, especially like the social media aspect of it, I was watching Call Me Bae, and I think Faye did like a debut or a cameo in it. And there was this one line that she said, was like, news is not anymore on television. You need to switch off your television because it's not there anymore. So, do you feel like the news on social media is better and more relevant than?
Definitely not. Definitely not. Because now even meme pages can make news stories and news posts and get circulated as if it's from a reliable source. So definitely, no, I wouldn't agree with that statement. That show has a very strong bias for social media, right? An entire show is about social media and how this Ananya's character is basically like, the expert and everything is there and it's the new generation way of communicating, which it is. But you cannot just trust your social media for your, like cold and hard truth news. Like you need to look at all if you're looking for legitimate news, you would look to your TV,
print.
newspaper, print, everything. Like you're not gonna just, okay, I'm gonna only get my news sources from social media. Of course you can, but then you follow the right platforms.
Yeah.
Don't
So
follow
are
any-
there right platforms on social media that's giving out good
Everyone
news?
has their sites. Like you'll see right wing, left wing channels and brands. Like you should follow news platforms like BBC, CNN, First Post. Like follow all of your journalists that you look and admire to and give you your news properly. Like for me, it's Palki Sharma. I love her, adore her. I think her way of storytelling is incredible. So
What do you resonate with that?
not resonate. I just admire the way she
Okay.
storytells. So it's like I follow her, and anytime I see a topic come up that I'm interested about, I would search it and like search First Post's way of narrating the story. So yeah, like, but don't believe everything you see on social media. It's like the stupidest thing to actually say on a show that's being watched by millions of people. I think for her as a journalist to say that is quite I don't think aware. Yeah.
Interesting. So there is like a whole following, right? That now like people are taking out their time, individual journalism, and they're giving out the right news. So maybe one person or two people are doing it from the right intent, but there are so many people that can mess up the intent, like as you said,
Yeah.
the meme pages, and people don't realize they're just going to listen to social media.
And it's so easy to manipulate things now. It's always been, but like the more AI enhances and the more technology enhances, like you have deep fakes, you have videos that can be manipulated, voices, you have pictures. Everything can be so manipulated on social media that if you're only reliant on that for your news, you are going to have your brain filled with garbage. But news on television on the other side, it's of course like it goes through departments and departments of research before it comes on your screen. They cannot just put out any video and say like, oh, this is what's happening and this is what Trump has said, but they will do their, filters.
Fact checks.
Yeah, proper goes through filters and fact checking before it's presented to you. Social media, anything can be put out, anything, because it's trending and viral, and because you want to cash in on the moment, pages will put it out without doing their fact checking and without doing their research. You will believe it to be true, and it's just going to mess up your perception, and it can cause a lot of damage. A lot. If you're in the eye of the storm and if you're seeing news that's really like emotionally like impacting you, it can cause a lot of damage.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Thanks for saying that. Thanks for articulating it that way. That was
Right?
really, really well said.
Thank you.
And like, talking about social media, like, do you think people are cashing in on just the trends and what's the most viral thing right now?
It is the nature of things. Like if you want to grow your platform, which everyone is in the rush to do, you have to cash in on the viral moments. Like
But like,
there's
can you actually make change?
it depends on how you are going about it. I don't think a lot of people are getting into content creation to make a change, right? They're doing it for entertainment, or they're doing it for the monetary aspect. I don't think many people are getting into it for creating a social change. So in that sense, I don't think anyone is going to think like, if I cash on this viral moment, how can I do it in a way that's going to benefit someone else or add value to someone's life? But even entertainment at this point is adding value to someone's life, right? Because as you're scrolling, if anything makes you smile, it is pretty much adding value to you.
That makes sense. And you said something about like, sometimes when you post like emotional content, like it takes like an emotional toll on you.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes from a journalistic point of view, you have to write about the war and you have to write about animal abuse. How do you handle that?
To be honest, I don't think I'm not that. I don't know, to be honest, how to answer this question, because I'm emotional, but not too emotional when it comes to work. You kind of have to put that aspect aside, because when you are researching or doing a story, you do get like the feelings, of course, are strong, right? If you're reporting about something as emotional or as messed up as rape, right? It's going to impact you like nobody's business. You're going to read stories and research and see what's happening with justice, what happened to the victim, what's happening with the culprits, and you're going to get annoyed and pissed off, and all these emotions are going to be running through you. But at the end of the day, putting that story across means a lot more than your emotions. Having your emotions take over and be like, you know what, I can't do this piece anymore because it's impacting me too much. It's you not doing your job, because your job is to put that story out there and give that story a life of its own, right? And what the change that story can make is a lot more than what you're feeling right now, right?
Dude, that is insane, because you
Right.
need to have a lot of emotional strength to do that.
I think so, and it's not just with journalists, it's with doctors, it's with therapists, it's so many professions where you have to put your personal feelings aside, regardless of how you feel about it, whether you're angry, upset, annoyed, emotional, sad, whatever it is, you have to put it aside. War journalists have to be out there in the field on a daily, seeing people die, but they still have to do their job and they still have to report, and you have to put aside all your feelings to make sure the story gets out.
Because that's the greater good, I think.
That's a greater good, even for doctors, right? Like your patient could be dying, but you have to put your emotions aside, and you have to do your job. Like basically you have to do your job.